So, I'm going to move on to some parenting issues. And these are, many of you know, these are the parental responsibilities. Now, I haven't found sort of any exciting, new cases around that, but there's an interesting area I want to talk about. So, as you know, the parental responsibilities are decisions that guardians can make in respect of a child or children. Where the child will reside, live and associate, education is a big one, of course, cultural, linguistic, religious upbringing, healthcare, passports, refusing consent, receiving information from third parties. So that's a really interesting one that has come up in some discussions recently, particularly when we talk about mature minors, right? So many of you know that there's something called the Infants Act, and when children get to a certain age and a doctor, essentially, they certify that this child is of an age and maturity that that child can make their own decisions regarding their health care, right? So the Infants Act allows for that, and parents, the making decisions for healthcare decisions is subject to the Infants Act. So if a child can make the decisions, the child can make the decisions, and it's not overridden by the parental responsibilities, right? The issue that's coming up recently is, what about a child's medical records, including counseling records? You think about that. Because the requesting information from third parties governs teachers, doctors, counselors, right, third parties, for your child. And there is no provision around the Infants Act. In fact, the Infants Act doesn't have anything to do with documents. It only has to do with decisions around healthcare decisions, right? So I was talking to a woman who had a case where the child was quite estranged from dad and wanted to go into counseling, but did not want dad to be able to have access to counseling records. But because, as they said, oftentimes these orders are made when kids are young, right? I mean, these orders can only be made since 2013. But think about it. Your child's like 5 years old, and there's an order that both of you are guardians, and you can have all this information about your child. Your child's 5. When your child turns 15 and wants to get the pill, get tested for HIV, whatever, go to see a counselor because of the drama going on in their home, or they're transitioning, whatever it is, and they don't want their parent to know. Under the Family Law Act and the guardianship provisions, the parents get to know. So there hasn't been a case that, because the case that my friend was doing ended up settling, it went to an appeal, the father appealed, but then he backed down. Or it went to appeal and he backed down. So he never accessed the records. But that is like an interesting area right now about whether or not there's a way that young people will be able to stop their parents from accessing their records so that they can be free to do counseling. Like, think about it. If you knew your mom could get access to your counseling records, would you ever go see a counselor? No. Not your mom, your dad. Anyone, right? Right. So that's sort of the only kind of one of the interesting things going on in parental responsibilities that I came across.